Y'all ain't getting through here ever again. That was the smug declaration one of the Willow Glen HOA board members shouted while snapping a padlock onto the gate of the newly erected steel fence that blocked off the entrance to my entire ranch. The sign they nailed to the center read, "Private Property HOA Members Only." Behind him, a circle of self-satisfied neighbors stood clapping like they'd just landed on the moon. I stood motionless at first, the crunch of my boots the only sound as I walked up to the gate. My truck idled behind me, the engine purring, and Scout, my German Shepherd, sat alert in the passenger seat, head cocked. This wasn't just a fence. This was a 12-foot-tall monstrosity topped with barbed wire, cemented into the ground with industrial footers. They dug up part of the county-maintained road just to anchor it in. It looked less like a neighborhood barrier and more like a penitentiary gate. Linda Morrison, the sharp-jawed president of the HOA, stepped out from the cluster of smug faces. Well, she said, arms crossed, a smile playing on her lips. Looks like the cowboy finally realized he's not exempt from the rules. You want access to that land, you'll need to join the HOA like everyone else. I didn't say a word. I simply looked at her, calm and quiet. No one there seemed to realize who I was, the county land commissioner. The person who oversaw permits, zoning, boundary disputes, everything. What? Cat got your tongue. Linda scoffed. You shocked that your rugged charm doesn't work around here? I finally turned away, pulling out my phone. Yeah, it's me, I said into the receiver, my voice cold. Send me everything you have on the Willow Glen HOA permits, boundary records, charter documents. We're gonna burn them down. And start with the fact that they just built a fence on my land. Let me backtrack. 2 months before that circus, things were peaceful. I had recently retired after 20 years of county service. My ranch, Lone Elm Acres, had been in my family for generations. 84 acres of rolling hills, stables, and grazing land. I lived quietly, tending cattle, riding the fence lines with Scout, and drinking coffee on the porch every sunrise. Then Linda got elected as HOA president. She was the kind of woman who wore high heels to garden club meetings and treated every rule like scripture. And the second she learned that my land technically touched the backside of the subdivision, she saw an opportunity. She came striding up one afternoon in a tailored suit, clipboard in hand. Mr. Rourke, she said, syrup in her voice. We've been reviewing district land usage and, well, your driveway connects to what we consider shared access. You really ought to join Willow Glen HOA. I took the packet from her. $950 a month in fees. No livestock. No fences over 4 feet. No structures without architectural committee approval. I chuckled. Ma'am, I've had barns on this land since your subdivision was bean fields. She frowned. This community has standards. So do I said, handing back the packet. But Linda didn't like being told no. That week, complaints started rolling in. Nuisance odors. Dangerous animals. My dog Scout was supposedly threatening children despite us living over a mile from any house. Then came the surveyors. I caught them planting stakes in my pasture. When I confronted them, they mumbled something about clarifying HOA boundaries. It was a slow invasion. And then, last week, I came back from a meeting in town and found the fence. That prison-style barricade stretching across my main entrance. Linda and the board were standing nearby taking pictures. I didn't confront them that day. I just went home, pulled out the county survey maps, and confirmed what I already knew. The fence was sitting 30 feet inside my property. That night, I filed a formal complaint. Not under my title, just as a landowner. The next morning, I got a letter from the HOA threatening me with legal action if I tampered with their boundary structure. The photo included? Their board posing in front of the fence with cardboard signs that read, "No ranchers allowed." I pulled the HOA records. Turns out their charter expired last year. No active permits. No legal authority. Then Carl called me. My neighbor. They brought a backhoe, he said. They're tearing up the bridge over the creek. I was in my truck within seconds. That bridge was my only access to the western pasture. My mare, Misty, pregnant with a foal worth $60,000, needed access to the vet station there. As I sped up the hill, Scout growling beside me, I saw them. Linda in her white SUV, 2 contractors in neon vests, and that cursed backhoe idling beside the bridge. Hey! I shouted, storming up the ridge. Linda turned nonchalant. We're removing unsafe structures. This bridge overlaps our jurisdiction. That bridge predates your neighborhood by 40 years. It's registered and protected. She shrugged. We act in the interest of public safety. I pulled out my badge. County Land Commissioner. Linda stared at it. You're bluffing. I snapped a photo, time-stamped and geotagged, then called the sheriff. Illegal demolition, private property. Get here fast. The contractors packed up in seconds. Linda, now panicking, tried to call them back. They waved her off. You think you've won? She snarled. I think I know the law. And I enforce it. 3 days later, I received a code enforcement notice anonymous complaint. Barn violations, unsafe fencing, livestock issues. The HOA was trying to weaponize the county against me. That night, I found a sign zip-tied to my front gate. Ranchers out. HOA zone. Kept it. As evidence. As motivation. The next morning, I filed an injunction. Then I launched an audit of every HOA permit. 40% of their files were incomplete. Several were outright illegal. The crown jewel? Their new clubhouse built across the HOA's boundary into conservation land. Carl texted me at noon. They're back. Taking pictures of your barn. I raced back. 3 HOA board members were pretending to inspect my property. One slapped a $12,000 fine notice on my barn. That night, I reported them for impersonating officials. The next day, I sent a letter to the HOA with a laundry list of violations: unauthorized fencing, boundary encroachment, impersonation, harassment. I gave them 72 hours. They didn't back down. Instead, they sent a fake patrol squad. Black jackets labeled HOA enforcement. They pulled up in pickups and shouted over a bullhorn. Vacate illegal livestock. Prepare for seizure. Scout barked. I recorded everything. Sheriff arrived minutes later. The patrol disappeared. But it escalated. That night, someone broke my barn lock. My mare nearly miscarried. A Molotov hit my haystack, but sprinklers saved us. I went public. Gave the entire file to Travis Riley, a local reporter. Photos, records, fake documents, forged deed transfer attempts. Travis published the story HOA Tyranny, Rancher Battles Rogue Board. The county launched an investigation. HOA finances froze. Linda vanished. Then reappeared in a motel 2 counties over. Arrested. Charged. The entire HOA was dissolved. Residents voted to abolish the HOA. Angela, a former treasurer, formed a new community board. Carl was elected liaison. And me? I got a letter from the governor. Rural Land Stewardship Award. But the real win? The land. Free and open again. And the gate? Mine.